Okay, we've got a pretty dense collection of articles this time. Looks like we're diving into the world of business process outsourcing, BPO.
Yeah, lots to unpack here.
We'll break down what it is, how it started, and how AI is kind of changing the game. You ready to go?
Absolutely. I think this is something that a lot of people are curious about, how businesses manage their operations behind the scenes. So yeah, BPO is definitely a key piece of that puzzle.
So at a basic level, it's when one company hires another company to handle certain tasks for them.
Right.
It sounds pretty modern, but the history of it is actually pretty interesting.
Yeah, it actually didn't begin with like computers or the internet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it really has its roots in manufacturing. You can think way back to like Coca-Cola and how they outsourced a lot of their supply chain early on.
Huh?
That was really a foundational form of BPO, focusing on your core expertise and letting others handle these specialized areas.
So it's not just about making physical products anymore, though, right? I mean, it's a much broader idea these days.
Yeah, it really touches almost every sector, like healthcare, finance, IT, you name it.
Wow.
It's become a really versatile tool for businesses.
So your material sort of broke BPO down into different categories,
Yeah.
which I thought was helpful to kind of wrap your head around it.
Yeah.
So we've got back office versus front office. What's the main difference there?
So back office BPO deals with a company's kind of internal functions, things like HR, finance, accounting, and IT support.
Okay.
All things that are super essential for the business to run smoothly, but don't necessarily involve like direct customer interaction.
Right, so like the inner workings.
Yeah.
And then front office is all about what the customers see.
Exactly, yeah. It's all about customer-facing services. So call center, sales, marketing, all those things often fall into the front office category.
Got it. And then we also see offshore, nearshore, and onshore. What are those all about?
So offshore means contracting with a provider in a completely different country than your company is based in.
Okay.
Nearshore is similar, but it's in a neighboring country, or at least one that's geographically close. And then onshore or domestic is when it stays within the same country, even if it's in a different region.
Got it. And then there were a few more specialized types, like BPO, KPO, and LPO. What are those?
Right, so IT stands for Information Technology Enabled Services. Basically, it just highlights how crucial IT is in a lot of these outsourced processes.
Wow.
Then you've got KPO, which stands for Knowledge Process Outsourcing, and that's when you're outsourcing more complex tasks, stuff that really needs specialized expertise.
Interesting. So instead of like routine data entry, it's more like high-level stuff.
Exactly, yeah. It could be financial analysis, research and development, even things like intellectual property management.
Wow.
And then LPO is Legal Process Outsourcing. Pretty self-explanatory. It's all about outsourcing legal work.
So this is obviously a huge global industry.
Oh, massive. The global market was valued at $281 billion in 2023.
Wow.
And it's projected to grow to over $500 billion by 2030.
Huge.
Yeah.
And some countries really stand out as major players in this.
Yeah, definitely. India, China, and the Philippines are consistently mentioned as BPO powerhouses. They got large, skilled workforces, and they've really built up their outsourcing infrastructure.
So big picture, what's the point of our deep dive today? What should the listener really get out of this conversation?
I think our main goal is to really understand why companies turn to BPO, to weigh the pros and cons, and then explore how technologies like AI are changing its future. By the end, you should have a really solid understanding of why BPO is such an important thing in the business world.
So let's jump into the traditional appeal of BPO then. What were the initial reasons companies started outsourcing?
Well, in the early days, it was all about cost efficiency.
Makes sense.
And that often meant using what's called labor arbitrage, basically outsourcing to countries where labor costs were a lot lower.
So it's just getting the same work done for a cheaper price.
Exactly. But over time, the advantages have become about more than just saving money. Flexibility has become really, really important. Well, you see, BPO can transform fixed costs, like salaries and benefits for a big team, into variable costs. You're basically only paying for what you use.
That's interesting. So instead of having this big in-house department with all the overhead, you can scale your services up or down depending on what you need at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fee-for-service model. It gives you a lot more financial flexibility. And it also allows companies to focus on what they're really good at.
Their core competencies.
Right. Why spend time and resources on stuff that's not your main thing when you can outsource it to experts who can probably do it better and faster?
Right, so it's about focusing on what you do best and letting the experts handle the rest.
Exactly. And that focus can actually lead to things getting done a lot faster, especially in areas like supply chain management. By working with external partners, companies can really streamline their operations and become more efficient.
And it seems like BPO can be a big help for companies that are growing quickly. Helps them stay agile.
Yeah, absolutely. As companies grow, they can sometimes get bogged down in bureaucracy. BPO helps them keep moving fast and avoid getting bogged down in admin stuff.
Okay, so looking at some specific examples, the materials you sent mentioned financial and accounting services, taxation and insurance processing, even things like e-publishing, web promotion, legal services, and content writing.
Right, it's a pretty broad range.
So on the surface, BPO sounds great, but there are some threats and challenges too. What are some of the downsides companies need to watch out for?
Well, one of the biggest things is risk management. Outsourcing can open you up to security vulnerabilities, especially when you're dealing with sensitive data.
Right, data breaches are a huge concern these days.
Absolutely. And there are also privacy concerns, especially when data is being sent to different countries with different laws.
That makes sense. Anything else?
Well, another big one is loss of independence. You know, if you become too reliant on a BPO provider, it can actually limit your flexibility down the road.
Makes sense.
And then you also have to think about the impact on your own employees.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Some people might see outsourcing as a threat to their jobs.
Hmm.
And then, of course, it's crucial to really understand the costs involved. Sometimes those initial estimates can be misleading.
So it's not just about the upfront price. There can be hidden fees and extra charges that come up later.
Exactly. And sometimes there can be problems with the contracts themselves.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like if the formatting is unclear or if there's not a good understanding of the technical stuff involved, it can lead to issues down the line.
So you could get locked into a contract with a provider who's not delivering what they promised,
Yeah.
and then you're stuck.
Right. And there's another challenge that's specific to the BPO market itself.
What's that?
A lot of BPO providers offer pretty similar stuff. They're all using similar technology and going after the same clients.
Mhm.
That lack of differentiation makes it hard to find a provider that really stands out.
So now let's talk about how technology is changing all of this. And AI and automation seem to be at the forefront of that.
Oh, absolutely. We're seeing a big shift away from traditional labor arbitrage and toward BPO that's powered by technology.
Right.
AI and automation are making things more efficient, they're modernizing processes, and they're improving data quality. And they're also freeing up human employees to focus on more strategic work.
So instead of just moving human labor to a cheaper location,
Yeah.
AI is actually doing the work itself.
Exactly. AI can handle those repetitive tasks, it can analyze huge amounts of data, and it can even interact with customers in pretty sophisticated ways.
So it's really changing the game.
Yeah, definitely.
One example that really stood out to me was voice AI in customer service.
Oh, yeah,
It's come a long way.
it has. We're now seeing AI-powered agents that can have conversations that sound very human-like. They can answer questions super fast, and they can even understand the context of a customer's issue because they're connected to all these different business systems.
So you might not even know you're talking to an AI.
Right. And then there's this new browser UI technology.
What's that all about?
Well, imagine AI agents that can actually interact with all the different software applications a company uses, like their old software, their new web platforms, even their custom in-house tools.
Okay.
So these AI agents can basically navigate through all of that to do things like data analysis or invoice processing.
Interesting. So it's not just automating one piece of software, it's like it's working across everything.
Exactly. It's like having AI that can work with your computer just like a human would, using the same windows and menus.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's got the potential to automate a lot of tasks that used to require humans.
And Generate, the insurance company, is a good example of how this is being used in the real world.
Yeah, they're using AI assistants to help their employees learn new skills and to improve customer interactions. And they've also used AI to handle this really complex process called escheatment.
Which is?
It's basically about identifying and returning unclaimed assets.
Okay.
And they actually saved $1 million in the first year of using AI for that and increased productivity by 5%.
Wow, so pretty significant results.
Yeah, and that success then allowed them to start using AI for other things across their global operations.
So it's a good example of how AI can really deliver a return on investment in the BPO world.
Exactly, and data analytics plays a big role in finding these opportunities.
Okay.
Consulting firms like IBM are working with clients to use data analytics to figure out how to redesign their operations. Like in the example you sent, there was a pharmaceutical company that saved hundreds of millions of dollars by using AI and automation to modernize their finance operations.
So it's not just about using technology for the sake of it, it's about being strategic and using data to figure out where BPO and AI can make the biggest difference.
Right. And that leads to some important things to think about as we look at the future of BPO. First of all, any technology decisions need to be tied to clear business goals.
Right, it's got to have a purpose.
Companies need to really understand why they're using a certain technology and how it's going to get them the results they want. It's also about looking for those hidden opportunities that BPO can unlock, especially when it's powered by technology. It's not just about cutting costs anymore, it's about finding new ways to create value and stay ahead of the competition.
So this shift from labor to technology, that's a big challenge for traditional BPO providers.
Definitely. Their whole business model has been built on providing human labor.
Right.
Now they have to switch to offering these product-based AI solutions, and that's a big change for them.
It is. And then working with these AI systems, it's not always straightforward.
No, it's not. There are issues like AI hallucination.
Hallucination?
Yeah, that's when the AI generates information that's just wrong.
Oh, wow.
It's a reminder that we need to be careful and make sure the AI is doing what it's supposed to. And then you also have to think about evaluating AI performance and choosing the right AI models for different tasks. All of that requires a lot of expertise in AI, which isn't always easy to find.
So where do you think we'll see AI being adopted in BPO the fastest?
Probably in areas where it's easy to measure the results, like customer support.
Right.
You can track things like response times and customer satisfaction scores, so it's easier to show how AI is making a difference.
But it's not just big companies that can benefit from this, right?
No, not at all. AI has the potential to make BPO accessible to smaller companies too. And for companies that are already using BPO, AI can help them outsource even more tasks.
That makes sense. And one thing that seems like a perfect fit for AI-powered BPO is operational work that grows as the company grows.
Yeah, like if you have to provide more customer support or process more invoices as your company gets bigger, that's a great area for AI to step in.
It takes the pressure off.
Exactly.
One article even talked about AI allowing people to build their own applications without needing coding skills.
Yeah, that's a really interesting idea.
It is.
If that happens, it could even disrupt IT and application development, which are often outsourced now.
So things are changing really fast in this space.
They are.
So as we wrap up our deep dive on BPO, what are the key takeaways for our listeners?
Well, I think the big story here is how BPO has evolved. It started as a way to save money on labor, and now it's about using technology to create value and transform businesses. AI and automation are at the heart of that transformation.
It's not just about being cheaper, it's about being better.
Exactly. It's about being more agile, more innovative, and more competitive.
So for our listeners out there, we encourage you to think about the different processes in your own organizations, which ones could benefit from technology in BPO. And don't just think about cost savings, think about the bigger picture. Think about what new possibilities might open up.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. The potential here is huge.
Thanks for breaking it all down.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Looking forward to it.